Got it. So, how you doing today, guys? This is Jamie Jackson, one of my best friends in the entire world. We're on the podcast today. We're going to be talking about health, fitness, mentality, training, mindset, and what it's done for his life. So, Mr. Jamie, can you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
Yeah, my name's Jamie Jackson. I'm originally from a very small town in Alabama. I met Bradley, or I call him Brad, or however he wants to go by. I met him
Yeah.
at a music festival back in 2014, and we became roommates after that. We both moved to Atlanta together and crashed on a couch for about 4 or 5
Yeah.
months, and
Yeah.
just kind of made it. And through the course of our friendship, we both taught each other a lot as far as life lessons and health and fitness and all these things. And I've carried them with me throughout my own journey. Obviously, I live in a different state now. You live in Atlanta, I live in
Hmm.
Colorado, but I've definitely carried a lot of those things we taught each other throughout my life, and it's helped me immensely. I'm currently in Fort Collins, Colorado. I am a bar manager of a restaurant, and fitness is a huge reason for my own personal
Yes.
success in what I do.
Yes. Yes. I
So
love it. That kind of gets us into that question. The main question, main topic of today is wanted to ask you what have fitness and working out taught you about life and about yourself? So that's kind of our main theme today.
yeah, absolutely. To kind of start it off, I think with anything in life, you don't just wake up and things are there, or you're successful, or things are done. It takes putting in time, effort, and energy. And I know that's kind of cliche to say, but you know, uh, before you start working out and you look at somebody, you don't really see the time they put into their body. After these past 6 months of me being really dedicated and back on the horse again, as far as fitness and nutrition,
Hmm.
whenever it's not that I'm judging anybody, but if you look at somebody who's fit, you're like, this guy's trading 2 or 3 hours a day for what he's got.
Yeah.
If you see somebody who, has huge arms, you're like, this guy is really putting in time to his biceps. This guy's really putting in the time to grow himself in whatever ways he wants to grow. So basically, you go to the gym, you put in time and effort, you grow and you progress. And same thing with life. If you just sit there, things aren't just going to magically happen for you. You have to
Hmm.
put in time and
Hmm.
preparation to execute whatever you need to
Take a
do.
step. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take a step. Hmm.
absolutely. And just one real quick more thought on that is, and this may kind of relate, it may not, but
Hmm.
I manage a restaurant. It can be very
Hmm.
stressful,
Hmm.
and I know for a fact that there's X amount of stress at that restaurant. It's not going to change. The stress is
Hmm.
not going to change at the restaurant. However, if I go to the gym and put my body through stress first, I'm going to be able to handle the stress at work even better. So, one of my biggest motivating factors for going to the gym is I know I'm going to be a better manager, a better friend, a
Hmm.
better
Hmm.
mind, a better stress
Hmm.
manager. So, that's a big reason and a big motivating factor to why I have the
Yeah.
discipline now that I have, with it.
Yeah. I love
So,
that. So what would you say? So your exercise habit, your routine, working out, what do you think it's done for your self-confidence as like a person, as a man, in
yeah,
this world?
no, absolutely. I think with anything new,
Hmm.
you're not very confident in what you're doing, and that's okay.
Hmm.
When I got started back in the gym, I kind of didn't know what to do. I'd kind of, stumble around and, didn't really have an intention or a goal or a purpose. I just knew I needed to go there. And over the course of time, there's something about progression to me that equals confidence.
Hmm.
And so if you see progress and you see yourself
Hmm.
progressing and you keep going and you develop your habits and develop your rituals and develop your routine, over time you're going to see progression. And to me, that progression is what gives you the confidence to
Hmm.
go in the world and do the things you need to
Thousand
do.
percent. Hmm.
And just like with working out, I feel like it releases endorphins, it releases
Hmm.
natural dopamine, it releases all these things that, yeah, we'll do nicotine or we'll drink or we'll do
Hmm.
whatever, which I'm not
Hmm.
judging or saying that's
Hmm.
bad, but what a what a what a better way to attain healthy confidence than to release those natural dopamine receptors and to really
Yeah.
do things that make you feel better, make you feel really good about what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. I love that. And so, let's talk a little bit about the mindset and the mentality it takes to get yourself in the gym every day, or to get yourself in the gym most days, even when it's not what you want to do or what you feel like doing. What kind of mindset does it take to kind of get in the gym no matter what, or just do something, do some type of get a sweat in, like Matthew McConaughey says?
Yeah. I'll give you a 3-part answer. First part of the answer is, I think, I'll give you an example. Back in, I think it was September, October, me and you were on a call, and you were talking about your fitness and your nutrition and your health. And I think I was walking to work, and I'd probably had a few too many drinks the night before, and I hadn't been in the gym that much. And I was just, I don't know, mentally and physically drained and not doing the habits and the things I needed to do to feel good about myself. And listening to you, and I don't even think you knew that I was going through what I was going through, but listening to you and your progression and your health and your fitness, there was a moment where I became like sick and tired. I became just immediately like, this has to change. And so I feel like with any new habit or any new routine you're doing, you've got to have that point where this is it. I'm making a decision. I'm tired of living this way. I'm tired of getting bad rest. I'm tired of being stressed out. I'm tired of having an unhealthy body. I'm tired of feeling bad. I'm tired of, all these things. And so what that transmutes to is I immediately went and got a membership at the gym. For the first month, I didn't really know what I was doing. And so, I've always had this mindset with the gym to where what you do today is going to give you benefits in a week, in 2 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 3 months. So my biggest mindset for the gym is I'm trying to look out for future Jamie Jackson. That's my biggest mindset is, what am I doing today? What am I practicing today? What rituals and habits do I have today to take care of Jamie a day from now, a week from now, 2 months from now, a year from now? And all of these things are building blocks to that future self. And having a clear picture of the progress I want to make. I think Tony Robbins says progress equals happiness. Progress is what makes you feel alive.
Love it. Yeah.
And so that to me is every single day, A, I want to feel good. A, I want to have a great day at work. A, I want to manage stress well. But B, I want Jamie in a week to feel better than this week, and I want to keep sustaining that and keep growing that. And so that's kind of my biggest secret for me is I'm just looking out for future Jamie.
I freaking love that. Tony Robbins talks about progress equals happiness. As human beings, he talks about how we need to see ourselves progressing in the things we do in our family, in our finances, in our frame. We crave that. I want to see myself get better physically. I want to see myself get better mentally. I want to have my family values in check. I want to have a business that's growing. You don't want to get to a business that's not growing. And so, like I said, progress equals happiness, and it really builds that mentality. When you see yourself progressing, it motivates you. So something I've seen on a recent podcast, Jordan Syatt is a coach. He talks about action, result, motivation, as opposed to motivation, result, action. And so taking an action, taking a step, no matter how simple it is, getting a result, and then that motivates you to keep going. That's called a success loop. You take action, you get the result, you're motivated to keep taking action, get a result, you keep being motivated. So that's a good loop to go on when you're progressing. When you see that you're getting better, you take action. You don't, like we talk about motivation can fizzle out. Motivation can leave you after it can get you started, but after a few weeks or a few months, that motivation from the video or the hype video or that moment that got you excited can kind of fizzle away. So when we kind of lock in, this kind of gets me to my next point is, and when we lock into our why, our purpose, and we lock into the process mainly as well, we take action, we get a result, the result being a better version of yourself, a more fit version of yourself, things like that. And so when ends up happening is it propels you forward to keep going and keep progressing. So something I wanted to talk about was, and I had to wrangle my puppy in. My lady left, and doggy's not happy, so he's going crazy. So the one thing I just wanted to continue on is I want to talk about yellow tank guy. Talk about yellow tank guy in your gym. Remember the
Yeah,
yellow
yeah,
tank?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I haven't even
little
said anything
motivation.
to him
Just like a
yet,
little,
but
little
no,
tidbit of
absolutely.
motivation.
No,
That's
I
I
love
love
that.
that as we talked last time.
I think one thing that's really, really cool in life is you never know who's watching. You never know who you're
Hmm.
inspiring. You never know
Hmm.
who's hearing your words or watching what you're doing. And real quick before I go into this, I'm going to
Yeah,
add to a point from earlier in that
yeah.
I like what you said about the action, the result, and the motivation. I think you're spot on. I took an action to get a gym membership as soon as I
Hmm.
felt that way,
Exactly. Hmm.
and I started to get results. And
Hmm.
then I really got genuine
Really, it's like
motivation to go
supercharged
do it.
motivation. Yeah,
If you
yeah,
get motivation beforehand, it'll fizzle out. You're not going to
yep,
stay
yep.
committed to what you're doing. So I think you're
Hmm.
spot on. Day one, late October, me getting back on, my fitness disciplines. As a guy in a yellow tank, he wears a yellow tank every day. He's probably in his 50s.
Hmm.
He's about your size and in
Hmm.
perfect physical condition.
Jack.
And he's at the gym every single day. Every day.
No matter
And
what.
I don't know what he does for work, but this guy
Yeah,
spends like 5 to 7 hours in the gym
yeah,
every day. And
yeah.
he's a cool guy. Yeah, I've never really talked to him, but he's kind of like my silent inspiration.
Hmm.
I'm like, if this guy in his 50s is in peak physical condition, and if he can get in here and be here
Yeah,
every single day, then the least I can do is trade an hour and a half of my day
yeah,
in here. And
yeah.
so to find, you got to look out and seek out those little inspirations to kind of
Hmm.
keep you moving and keep you going. I feel like we're all here to inspire and motivate each other,
Hmm.
and your actions and what you're doing, you never know what ripple effect that's going to cause to impact others. I'll give you a really quick snippet.
Hmm.
There was Bert, one of Joe Rogan's friends, Bert. I
Hmm.
can't remember his last name, but he
Hmm.
posted a video of him finishing a marathon, and this guy who is like 400 pounds watched that video, and over the course of the year lost like 175 pounds, and then he
Hmm.
inspired all these people. So
Hmm.
that one little
Compound.
action
Yeah,
of making yourself better can have this amazing ripple effect to inspire
exponential.
and motivate,
Hmm.
and get to
Yeah.
others. And I think that's very important. It's very important for you to find inspiration. It's also very important for you to put in the time and energy yourself, because to inspire others, it's not like you do it for your ego or you do it
Hmm.
for a boost or whatever, but there's something about it that gives you back energy for your
Hmm.
own self,
Hmm.
for you to keep moving forward and for you
Yeah.
to keep going. So it's a
So,
two-way
so,
street.
something I like to say is exercise is energizing. And so when we move our body, when we lift weights, when we challenge ourselves, we get actually energized. Like you said, you get a boost of neurochemicals that are positive for you. You get a boost of things that are good for your brain, your blood, and your body, and your mood, and also your stress resilience. Like we talked about you with work, you're able to deal with stress a lot better. A lot of studies show that the gym, working out in the gym, and overcoming the weights in the gym, and working out and progressing allow your brain to deal with stress much easier. And I'll give you an example. Your brain says, man, we squatted 100 pounds, the past 2 weeks. And then this week we squatted 130 pounds and we're really killing it. So when something falls in the distance or somebody like says something to you, your brain's like, that's not hard. You know what I mean? It's not hard to not react to that, or that doesn't bother me, because we've experienced being physically challenged and physically overcoming. And so you build stress resilience mentally through that. And so your brain almost sees other things as not as challenging because they aren't. If you get
Right.
cut off in traffic,
Right.
it's not like somebody punched you in the face. But when you lift that weight, you physically held something and lifted it. And so it does something for stress resilience and dealing with life stress as well. And so my big another one I wanted to get into with you, which is something that me and you do a lot of, and it's a big part of what my method is the mindful fitness method. And my big, I guess my call line would be lift, walk, and meditate. So lift, walk. If you lift, walk, and meditate, I feel like if you knock those three habits out each week, you can really have a healthy lifestyle. Something we've done a lot of is walking, daily
Sure.
walking. can you talk about the importance of daily walking, and after maybe the importance of daily walking and what it has done for your mental health and in your life? Because we've spent years walking every single where we go, listening to information, meditating, walking, getting in nature. I think that it's a big thing for people's health. Like I really am a proponent of lifting 2 to 3 times a week, walking on your off days and on your training days if you can, daily walking, and then like I said, daily meditation. So what do you like? What would you say that walking has done for you? And what have you learned from it?
Yeah, so this really started when we were living in Atlanta, and we
Yeah.
we lived in the Highlands, and
Oh, Wilbur.
yeah, oh Wilbur,
At
and
Wilbur.
I we started to I started to walk around. It's easier to get around the city to walk than it is anything
Hmm.
else, and
Way easier. Yeah.
one thing I noticed is we get, especially when you live in a city, you get caught up in being in a hurry. You get caught up
Hmm.
in, I got to get to this next spot. I got to go do
Hmm.
this, yada,
Hmm.
whatever. And what I found was when you walk, you're getting there when you get there. And in
Hmm.
the meantime, you can take in trees, you can take in clouds, you can
Hmm.
take in buildings, you can take in all these things. And I'll kind of give you a great example with it. I don't do the best job sometimes of keeping up with friends, calls and mom and dad and all those things. But what I found is when I'm walking,
Hmm.
I have the time to catch up with these with my family, with my friends, and I'm speaking better, I'm talking
Hmm.
better,
Hmm.
and walking slows down life for me, and
Hmm.
it allows me to listen to what I want to listen to talk to I want to talk to. I live 3 miles from work currently,
Hmm.
and I have a car, and 80% of the time I'll walk to work
Yep.
because I know that in that hour, I'm going to listen to something great, motivating. I'm going to talk to mom. I'm going to talk to
Hmm.
dad. I'm going to call you and talk to
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And for some reason, if I don't walk, I don't have the time in my head to do that,
Exactly. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And so walking, it may be a little boring at first, but the more you do it, the more like I enjoy my walks. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy slowing life down
Yeah.
and being able to just embrace it and experience
Hmm.
it and not get caught up in the whirlwind of
Yeah.
the life rushing you to this or that.
Yeah. That's
So
huge. I totally agree. I think walking is one of the greatest forms of low level exercise that anyone can do. It boosts everything for your life, and then like you just went exponentially with it. When you go on walks, some people may argue, oh, it takes me longer to get there. Just leave earlier. I don't,
yeah,
just leave earlier, and then like you're saying, you have a lot of times to get things done. One of my most favorite things to do is put a podcast in when I start to walk. And it's I listen to the information deeper because I'm not doing something else or whatever. I'm just walking, and I hear that information, and it really really kicks it into gear. So one thing I do when I get into as well, so lift, walk, and meditate. So I will say that you've been one of the biggest people in my life that got me on meditating. And now, I mean, I have a tattoo that says meditate on my arm, and it's a part of like all my I first thing I talk about with clients is how to breathe properly through your nose and meditate, how to clear your mind, but also how to calm yourself down and be mindful of the breath. And so I remember that all those times I was sitting by the pond out in Thomasville, after our AM runs, trying to get back in shape after some crazy life events, and running up the hill, and then eventually getting to that pond and sitting and meditating and praying for our family and our friends and for our best friend Randall. And so, what has a meditation habit, or what do you think a meditation habit can do for someone with their health and fitness
yeah,
as well as
no.
mentality and everything?
Before I speak about it, I will say that
Yeah,
you've definitely taken what I've showed you and ran to a totally different level than I've ever
yeah,
gotten to. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
mm-hmm.
I think that we meditate in different ways, and I do think it's very important to sit still
Mm-hmm.
and just be and listen
Mm-hmm.
to a guided meditation or listen to silence or Eastern drums or
Mm-hmm.
however you want to do it. But I also think that there's different ways to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. I do from time to time do a meditation with David G. I would highly
Mm-hmm.
recommend DAVIDJI,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube,
Yep.
SoundCloud, one of my favorites. But what I'll
Agreed.
also what I'll also say is, I get to the gym and basketball court's empty and I shoot for 20 minutes and
Yep.
and
That's it.
I can't think about anything but getting the ball in the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something, that's why I play basketball. I think that's why we both play basketball,
Yeah.
is we don't have time to think about life whenever you're playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess my biggest thing would be, yes, get into meditation, but also find something
Find
that
your way.
takes your mind
Yeah.
off of things and something you enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
keep doing it. Basketball is my enjoyment to meditation.
Yeah.
It's my enjoyment to doing that. I do also sit still and take time to meditate,
Mm-hmm.
not as much as I should, but at the
It's
same
tough.
time,
Yeah. All of it is. Yeah.
yeah,
And so I love that too, because another big form of meditation is walking. So meditative
right,
walking, we just spoke about, you're able to clear your mind, and then you're like, it's almost like your brain's like, oh, we have time to do the things that are important for us. Let's do it.
yeah,
And then like a lot of meditation teachers, they talk, like you breathe, you inhale on each step, and you walk lightly on the earth, and you take in the nature, and you be one with each step, and be one with each part of nature and each sound of nature. So a big part of it is finding your way of meditation. Like you're saying, like I love that. I do breathing meditations and breath work, and then just kind of different stuff to experiment with. And I think that lifting also can and should be a meditation, because when you're in the gym and you're executing a lift, if you make it meditative, you're going to learn that you're going to master the form. Your body's going to take to it well. You're going to maximize muscular tension, and if you really focus in on your lifting session, you make it like a workout, like even a bicep curl. You're doing that slowly lowering to the good range, and then you're contracting everything. You're being very mindful. What I see a lot of sometimes is people doing mindless training.
right.
So instead of mindful training. So when it's mindless training, you're maybe thinking about something else while you're lifting, or you're just, jamming music, and you're not being mindful of the movement. And a lot of times that leads to injury, because people don't feel or realize when they're out of position or they're out of range. And so, getting jacked up to go into an exercise and then giving it like 110 effort, but not being mindful of your
Not
form.
being there.
Not being there.
Yeah.
You typically leads A, to injury, and or B, to progress stalling. So people are like, I hear a lot of, oh, I can't grow my arms, or I can't grow this. And then you watch them work out, and it may be they're doing 4 sets of 12, but they're getting like 4 effective reps in, because they're swinging the weight, or they're going hard, or they're going too heavy. Doing a 40 or 50 pound curls, you're not going to get that much, because it's going to fatigue you too fast. So your body and your whole arm is going to get fatigued before that muscle gets fatigued. So that muscle won't grow. So you have to like throw the ego out, go lighter, and master that movement, and then move up in weight incrementally. And it's all about mastering your weight. Some people, you could do like a heavy curl, but I could almost grab your arm, ditch the weight, and make you flex and make it harder than the weight made it.
The biggest self-confidence in the gym, and excuse my language, but it's not giving a fuck about what anybody thinks of you in the gym.
100%.
If I want to go curl fives 100 times, then I'll go curl fives 100 times and do it the right way.
Yep.
And it's not about it's not about you worrying or getting caught up in what other people think about you working out. It's about how do you feel about yourself and your growth and your own self, I mean, it's obviously human nature that you see somebody doing something weird in the gym and you're like, what's this guy doing or whatever. But the guy's in the gym and he's moving.
He's doing it.
He's in a good path to where he's going. And that's where I've kind of gotten with myself in the gym, is I go and do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And
Blinders.
and I'm growing and I'm progressing, but at the same time, I'm not going to throw 245s on a bench just to show out. I mean, it's okay to progress and get that animalistic nature, but I think
go for it. Lift it. Yeah.
But like you said, people get caught up in that show off mentality rather than that discipline and behind the scenes mentality.
It's mindless. So a mindful way to be would be like we're saying, master the movement and make it practice.
Right.
Like meditation, you make it, you if you want to master the squat, you make it practice. You don't go balls to the wall in the squat every day. And same thing with meditation. If you want to sit and meditate, I tell people to do micro meditations, 1 to 2 minutes of just deep breathing. I think a big thing that people can learn is and we'll go into this a little bit of breathing and breath, how important the breath is. and how important it is to take some time throughout the day to do deep breathing. I do deep breathing first thing in the morning, and I've learned that I'm like, man, I can't just do this in the morning. Like if I do this after lunch and then like maybe at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, like literally 2 minutes of deep inhales and slow exhales, you really oxygenate the body, and you find that you're like, wow, how have I been breathing all day? Because I had this experience, I think it was yesterday, to where, I try to be very mindful, breathe through my nose, breathe fully and deeply, and be present. And then, got to work and got to doing a lot of things over a few hours. And then I sat down after a gym session to eat my post-workout meal. And I just sat there and I said my grace, and I took a big, deep breath in, up, 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 and then all the way out. And I got like a surge of energy. I felt like I just like woke up all of a sudden, and I was like, man, how have I been breathing these past few hours? And you just find that, and it's okay. It's okay to do that. It's just, we need to take, I call them breathing breaks, taking micro breathing breaks throughout the day, to where you sit and breathe deeply to re-energize your body, and you almost find that once you do deep breathing for 2 minutes, you start breathing easier after. And before, I'm like, kind of, it's pollen season here in Atlanta. The pollen just hit. I've had a history of sinuses with my family. We deal with all our allergies with Alabama and Georgia. And so I find that it's like, oh man, it's hard for me to breathe in. I have a deviated septum, all these things. It's hard to breathe in. But when I sit and I just go mindful and just breathe deep for 2 minutes, afterwards, my breathing's easier, if that makes sense. Like my nose, everything's opened up and moving better.
I think there's a stat that it could be skewed, but it's like 90% of humans don't breathe correctly. Yep. And we're all been out of shape and stressed out and worried and anxious and depressed and all these things. Yep. And I'm not saying breathing correctly is going to solve all your problems, but it's a damn good start.
It's some good steps, good steps to the right direction.
Yeah. And I mean, I do that too throughout the day. If I'm super stressed or anxious, I'm like, hold for 6 seconds and let it go. I mean, anytime my body is stressed, for whatever reason, the best way to start is just focus on your breath. A, it gets you away from whatever you're doing, and B, it gets oxygen into your body. I'll share this weird tidbit with you, but another way I use it is if I'm really hungover. And, sometimes we get off and drink too much, and like I'm sitting there and I'm like, and that's so much better than orange juice or whatever, So I mean, true. When the body's under stress, when the body needs something, sometimes oxygen is the best way to start to whatever you're doing. Okay. And it seems so cliche and small and dumb and whatever, but it's so true. It's so basic. It's the foundation of, even when you're working out. I'm working out with a guy now that I work with, and he talks about, proper breathing while I'm working out, and really talks about getting the most out of that rep, and that proper breathing is what gets the most out of that rep. If you know how to breathe the right way. If you forget to breathe, then you're not going to be able to lift that weight.
You can't maximize your body strength or your muscular tension too, because your core is so big. Your core is so big into that, and breathing and bracing. Breathing and bracing when you're lifting heavy, especially like a squat, a bench press, a lift. Having that big strong breath and fortifying the core, and then pressing and maybe exhaling on the concentric is really big. And another thing that's really cool about breath work, breathing meditation, is the ability to calm yourself down in any situation. So one part of that is doing that when you lift in between your sets. Sometimes we get on our phones, sometimes we do this and we're not really thinking. It's a great time to be meditative, because if you have a 2 or 3 minute rest between your set, because you're training for strength or something, like a guy named Dr. Andrew Huberman talks about this. It's called a double inhale and a slow exhale. So when we double inhale, with the second inhale being like a sniff, and then we slowly exhale, we actually like down regulate our body to calm down. And so if you do that in between your sets, you recover faster. So if you bench 10 reps and you have a 2 or 3 minute rest, as opposed to worn out, just breathe and be mindful. Inhale, another one, and then you slowly control the breath out, and you'll find that you calm yourself down. And then right as you go into your set, you want to get normally ready and go in and lift. But what it does is it returns oxygen back to the muscles efficiently. And so you're preparing your body to lift faster, and it actually helps you recover faster. But a big part of that in life is learning how to throttle yourself down. we have our sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, and we have our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest mode, the calm mode. And in parasympathetic is when we heal, recover, and build. And so if you're always stressed and always in sympathetic, your body's not going to lose body fat, and your body's not going to gain muscle, and it's not going to feel good. So learning how to down regulate your body through breath by like a double inhale and a slow exhale, or double the exhale length. So inhaling to 5 or inhaling to 4 and then exhaling to 7 or 8. When you do that, you basically are down throttling your body to go into parasympathetic. And so what that does for your day is, say you're in traffic and things are getting crazy, or think somebody cut you off, or something's going on at work, or you're at your restaurant job and someone's being rude, or something's not going right. Taking that deep breath and slowly exhaling will send the signal to your body. And here's the cool thing. It'll tell you everything's okay. And you'll start looking for solutions, as opposed to shallow breathing, panic / this is bad, I don't know what to do. And so when you learn to, I have my episodes, I have my anger, I have my outbursts sometimes, and I've gotten really good at, as soon as something starts to agitate me or set off or go wrong, I go immediately into deep breathing. And if I don't do that, it's straight red. If I do the other one, it's calm, and how can I fix this? Or calm, what can I do about it? Or calm, there's not shit I can do about it. I'm just gonna be with it.
I'll give you a quick recent tidbit of kind of what you're talking about. I went on a walk this morning, about an hour walk, and during my walks, I think about life, I think about work, I think about friendships and all that. And work got brought up in my brain, and something was bothering me in my head. And I started to kind of act on it. And within like 3 seconds, I was like, ego, and and I took a deep breath and let it go. And, when it comes to walking or meditating or breathing, what a way to deal with our own anger and ego and desires and different things that get to us and bother us and agitate us. And what a better person we are to be around when we have those things in some sort of check. Not that we're perfect, or not that we do everything perfect, but that we train ourselves to become aware when those feelings are filling us up. And then the ongoing ability and training to calm ourselves down through breathing, through walking, mental through training, meditation, through all these things. And, it goes hand in hand with fitness, because if you're stressed out to the max and your ego is way up in the air, you're not going to have an effective training regimen that you need to be on to progress yourself to where you need to go. 100%. So it's that, I think all these things really increase awareness, which is really, really important to
the most important,
your own journey and where you're going. You taught me a lot about self-awareness and how to be more aware of my thoughts and actions and everything around me. And everything we're talking about goes hand in hand with increasing that self-awareness and seeing when that ego creeps up and gets angry or whatever.
Some say that self-awareness is the biggest key to personal development. And so when you're self-aware of your downfalls, your pitfalls, and your strengths, and reality and truth, so when you're unbiased and unegoic. So the ego is very biased and it doesn't want to be wrong, or want this or want that. When you bypass those things, you can see reality and see truth. One of the biggest things is that the Dalai Lama talks about in the Bodhisattva Guide is the antidote to anger is patience, and how anger can be a very the most disruptive emotion, because it obscures the truth, and it angers you up to do harm to others, which is the number one thing we do not want to do. We never want to cause harm to others. And so he talks about the antidote to anger being patience. It's my favorite chapter. It's highlighted, it's torn to pieces, written, noted all over. And it's when you get angry, the greatest thing to do is be patient, as in take a deep breath and wait. And what happens is typically the anger goes away and you realize why you shouldn't have been angry, or you start to see the silver lining of what you did better instead of getting angry. And when you act on the anger, there's always regret. So, yeah.
I'm not going to go deep into this, but I have to bring this up. We kind of saw this Sunday night.
Yeah.
with Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah. Yeah.
You saw the ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
Climb up
Yeah.
Will Smith's whatever. And I don't know all the dynamics. I don't know the whole
Yeah.
story. I don't know whatever. All I know is what my eyes saw.
Yeah.
But obviously most humans don't agree with what happened, or think it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not defending Will Smith by no means, but in his head, he was right. In his own egoic head, he was right.
Yeah.
And instead of exercising patience and working through it, he just let his anger and ego just take over and become him almost, and become his actions, which is something that, I think we've all been in a place where we've lost control and didn't remember doing something or didn't remember saying something. And
weekly basis for most of us.
what a more fulfilled and better life you live when more times than not you have control over yourself and you have control over your emotions and all that. To me, I've said a lot of things in my life when I was younger that I regret. And then again, I don't regret it because it led me to awaken and become more enlightened and to be more self-aware. And the reason, I'm a lot calmer in my 30s than I was in my 20s. And the reason being is I never want to be defined by my anger and my ego. I never want those two to be like, well, that's who Jamie is, I'd much rather be somebody who people love to be around, who people are inspired by, who people feel a ripple effect by, and all these things. And do I still struggle with ego and anger? Sure, I'm going to until I die, but the ongoing training of meditation, of walking, of awareness, and fitness, being in the gym, all these things contribute to, I think, is what the common denominator of what your intentions and your goals is, providing people to the opportunity to introduce themselves to the best version of themselves, if that kind of makes sense, And I'm not talking about best version only physically. I'm talking about, your ability to handle things, your ability with your breathing, your ability with your mind, your ability with relationships, all these things. But fitness and nutrition and mindfulness are a great foundation to start to become the best version of yourself and to become who you are. And to find who you are.
Yeah. And I feel like that is to be the best version of yourself is a big driving force. And it should be in the modern world, because I feel that a lot of people nowadays are getting caught up with like how they're viewed or how much money they make or what they can do, like what their skill is. But if everyone's an N of one project, so you can't compare yourself. Right. So
Correct.
You can't compare yourself to others. So your journey is your journey and your best version is your best version. And so when one pursues the best version of oneself, like we talk about the mama mentality. So to be in a constant pursuit of the best version of yourself means that, you constantly pursue the best in your frame, family, finance, spirit. And you basically you increase what you give, you increase your contribution. And then once you do those things, then the best that life has to offer will start to come to you. But even then you realize that you didn't need it all along, because you become that best version of yourself, and you give your best version to your loved ones, your kids, and you're going to like progress equals happiness. So if you're pursuing the best version of yourself and you're progressing, you're going to be happier and happier and happier. And it's very important to pursue that best version.
So the way, two things real quick. I think I said about a year ago that, and this has probably been said before, but it just kind of came into my mind. You deserve the best world. But in order for you to get the best world, the world deserves the best you.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street. You deserve, and once you become the best you, the best world starts to reveal itself a little bit more and more. 100%. To expand on that, I think Matthew McConaughey puts it this way. He said, everybody needs three things in their life. They need something to look up to, something to look forward to, and something to chase. Yeah. And I'll expand on the something to chase because it relates to exactly what you're saying. He said when he was 15 years old, somebody came up to him and they said, who's your hero? And he goes, me at 25. So he turned 25 and the same person came back and said, are you your hero? And he goes, no, not even close. My hero's me at 35. So he said, I'm never going to attain my hero, but that gives me something to chase. And
Mm-hmm.
it keeps him progressing and getting better. And even though he's not going to attain perfect 35-year-old hero of Matthew McConaughey, having that something to chase keeps you getting better. I was going to say this earlier, but it goes right into what I'm saying now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked for Nick Saban for 3 years. The main thing he taught me is at the end of each day, you don't stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little better or a little worse. And which one are you doing? Which
mm-hmm.
one are you doing? Are you getting a little worse or a little better? And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the week, are you getting a little better or a little worse? At the end of a year, are you getting a little better or a little worse?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have days where you fall off the wagon, where you eat a pizza and you drink a case of beer or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the week, at the end of the year, at the end of each day, which degree are you going up to? Because you're never going to stay here.
It's
this
one or
does
the
not
other.
exist. It's one
or
the other.
Mm-hmm.
And,
good or bad,
and if you're not,
digressing.
And if you're not growing, I hate to be really intense, you're dying. You know
growing,
what I mean?
Yep. If the tree's not growing, it's dying. If the animal's not growing or moving, it's dying.
Right. And we're part of nature too. And it's sometimes hard to understand that, you know, to a degree. But I feel like that all goes to just being the best version of yourself. And it sounds so cliche, but you feel so good when you're attaining it. When you're and you don't even have to wait to get to the best version of yourself. If you're just slowly making progress one day at a time, you're gonna get in this feeling of the flow of where you need to be and what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know.
So here's what we'll end with today. So I'll leave you. I got one last little question for you. And I think it's going to be like what I'll ask everybody on the podcast to kind of like end with. But if you had to choose one thing that someone could be mindful of that they could do that would lead them to the best version of themselves, if they could do it every day or every week, maybe. You pick two if you need.
This may not answer your question. I'll get really deep with you on this. Nick Saban taught me a bunch of things, and love him or hate him, he's got a lot of like life wielding advice. Mm-hmm. And one thing he taught me, Brad, was be where your feet are. Mm-hmm. And so I always remember that. Like if I'm working out, if I'm at work, if I'm with a friend, if our minds love to go somewhere else, it's just what it loves to do. But when you become present with yourself and with other people, and you're just where your feet are, life becomes more of nirvana, more of heaven, more of this seamlessness, more of this intuition, more of things happening for you. And we get caught up in tomorrow, we get caught up in yesterday, but why don't we just be where our feet are? Just be right here where our feet are. And I mean, we need reminders in whatever we're doing. So no matter what you're doing, just be where your feet are. Just be there. Just be. It's
kind of like, Ram Dass, just be here now.
Yeah.
Ram Dass, just be here now. And it's such great advice because you feel that someone could answer to that could answer so many questions. So someone's like, man, I'm having trouble losing weight. I don't know what to do with my calories and this and this and this. Just be where your feet are. Just be. Take steps to get better or take steps to improve it, but don't stress. Don't worry. People are not being where they are. They're in the future stressing, or they're in the past regretting. They're in the past maybe regretting, or they're in the future maybe stressing. And our body feels that. Our mind thinks that we're in that future and that we're being attacked and that we're worried and scared and afraid. So instead of feeling that, be where your feet are. Just be here now, and then, take action, get the result, and then get motivation and just kind of keep going.
Because everybody, including yourself, can feel and is a better version whenever you're present.
100,000%.
Because people can feel it. They can feel the presence of you being present, of you being there with them, and you being able to be in the space and time with them, rather than your mind being in next week or tomorrow or whatever.
Presence is powerful.
Yeah,
if you will. So presence is powerful when you're paying. It literally makes sense to me to pay attention. When you pay attention to someone, you're paying them your attention. You're giving them your attention. And like you've always taught me that a big part of the person in front of you that you're talking to is the most important person in the entire world. And then when you go to the next conversation, that person is the most important person in the entire world. When you're sitting with yourself, by yourself in the moment, you're the most important person in the entire world. And so that's what the living spirit tells us. So if you're alone, you're the most important person. If you're with someone else, they're the most important person.
Which I'm so glad. I'm so glad you said that, because that's the first step of liking yourself. And liking yourself is what makes other people like you. Yep. Until you fall in love with yourself, the world cannot fall in love with you. Yep. And I'm so glad you said that. Sorry to interrupt.
So I just think all that's perfect. And so, I want to be respectful of your time today. So I think we can end it here for the podcast. So I just want to say I appreciate you, my brother. I love you. I
still got another hour if you need it.
Oh, you got an hour? Yeah. We can. We're 50 minutes in. We can do 2. And this definitely isn't going to be the last one or the only one we have together. Yeah. Because I love the topics we talk about, the way we talk about things, and I think that what we talk about can really bring awareness to some people and help anyone who's willing to listen.
Absolutely. And before we end, I'm glad you said what you said a few minutes ago. I do apologize for last week, but like you said, I had the ability to pay attention to you today. I did not have that ability a week ago.
You were aware, and I was aware,
and I was like, I don't want to do this without paying you attention, without investing into your attention.
Like the reality, I freaking love that. Because that's a big part of the self-awareness piece. Like if like for me too, like with training and working out, if I have a gym session scheduled at 2, but I can't barely walk, and yesterday's session was too hard, and I'm having somebody in the family passed away, you have life stress on you, it's okay not to go to the gym. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to be kind to yourself. And like we're saying, you pay attention to what you need in that very moment and not stress about the future. Like some people, I can't make it to the gym, I'm not going to get in shape in 2 or 3 weeks. And it's like, you have to be here now. You got to listen to your body in the now. I have my Mama Mentality book sitting here with Kobe. He talked about how his game time warm-up routine was always different because he listened to his body. And he typically he started out closer to the basket. He started out with layups and on his touch, and then he worked further out. If he felt on that game, he needed to lock in his jump shot, he'd do more jump shots. If he needed to, work off this 3-point shot of the floor, he would work on that spot. If he was watching game film and knew that his main spots are going to be in the elbow, he'd be taking more elbow shots. If this team was a rough team and he might be shooting a bunch of free throws, he'd be practicing his free throw. So it's all about awareness. It's all about knowing your body, knowing yourself, and listening to your body and listening to yourself. And if you love yourself first, then you'll listen to yourself as well, the right way.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah. I love the hat, dude. Always got the fire hats. I got to say, always got the fire hats. Yeah, ridiculous. Well, I got you, man. What you got? You hitting the gym today here soon, or?
Yeah, so I'm actually a friend of mine and his brother are going to be at the gym. We're going to play a little basketball, and I'll probably do some arms and a little, maybe a little core after that. And then I'm going down to Denver to see our friend Eric McCracken for the night. So
I'll
hang out with him and
probably have him on here at some point.
I think that'd be a good idea for sure.
Yes.
For sure. He's got a lot of knowledge.
Have a little round table discussion on some stuff,
I'd be down.
Debate.
But much appreciation to you, man. I love what you're doing. I love the outreach you have. I love your energy. I love your progression, and I love you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, my brother. I love you, man. You have a good day. Okay.
Peace and love, bro.
Talk to you soon.
Holla.